Welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 366. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Hello, Matt. Hello, listener. We've got a show for you today. We've got, obviously, our first impressions on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 Plus 2, a little peek at Captain Tsubasa, Rise of the New Champions. And Matt, they announced a whole bunch of Mario stuff for the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers. More on all that later. But first, happy Monday to you. Or happy whatever day to you.
Yeah. Happy morning, happy afternoon, whenever you're listening. I don't know.
Likewise.
Who knows?
How are things on in Matt's neck of the woods?
Good. You know, still staying up real late, playing some Call of Duty, and then waking up and trying to figure out how to function on a 4 or 5 hour sleep cycle. But, you know, that works.
I tasted a little bit of that with Tony Hawk this week. Just a tad.
Nice.
Yeah. I said neck of the woods. Would you ever live in the woods? Like, what is your ideal...
No, never.
What's the ideal... Because that is obviously... That's our next goal when we move out of here, is let's buy a house as far away from human beings as possible. Like, if we see a person near our house, we should be afraid. Is kind of what our goal is. What is the dream, Matt? Are you want to move, like, you want to be in the 35th floor of some high-rise in New York City? What's the...
I do like the city, but I also like the suburbs. I don't need to be in the middle of it. I do like the idea of, like, walking everywhere. It's always fun, but I don't know. I'm not a man in the woods, though. I need some society around me. I need to be able to go to stores.
So when I say in the middle of the woods, I mean relatively speaking. Like, I'm not saying I want to be like, I want to be within, let's say, 15 minutes of a store. Maybe 20. But, like, there's some places where it's like, yep, this is our house. Like, I remember my brother went camping or something at somebody's house in, like, West Virginia or something. And he said it was great because they're, like, out in the middle of this field and it's nothing but stars above. That's all you see is just stars. And the guys who live there are just like, oh, you got to just throw it in the pile. They just light everything on fire. Like, it was that kind of place or whatever. But he said, like, talking to him, he's like, so what do you do, like, you know, if you need milk? And we're like, well, the corner store is not far. You can't get much there, but you can go there. And he's like, what if you wanted to go to, like, a Target? And they're like, well, we got a Walmart, and that's about 2 hours west of here. It was like, that's the closest thing, is a 2-hour drive. It's like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's like the Eastern Shore, dude. Not quite 2 hours, but, like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, it's a little... I don't want that kind of isolation. A little bit of isolation goes a long way, but maybe not that kind.
He's somewhere with a good LTE or 5G cell phone reception.
Yeah, I definitely need that.
That's all that kind of matters, and a place where I can continue to have gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah, as long as I can download. Don't necessarily need to upload. Good with that.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, because, you know, I know people with the life of satellite internet. It was not a fun life.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Look, that would be the first thing I look into prior to making any moves here. But, yeah. I am ready for the woods to consume me. Especially in this remote era that we're living in, you know? Everything can be done from anywhere as long as you have a connection. I think. Well, Matt, we've got a big show this week outside of living in the woods. Before we do get to the big show, though, I have a story to share. So, I made the same mistake I've made year over year. And on September 1st, I logged into Animal Crossing, thinking that all the leaves would be brown and things would have started to change and look great inside Animal Crossing. And instead of finding the mamas and the papas of the world, I was greeted instead with a strange phrase from Isabel. Normally, logging in the last couple of months, Isabel greets me. I mash the A button because she says nothing. She says that there's no real news today, but she finally saw the detective on her show crack the case, or some such nonsense that means nothing to me. On that day, Isabel stops and says, "Oh, it seems we have a visitor at the campsite." I even still, I dismiss it. I move on with my day. I go in, I run around. I do catch some new fish. There's some fossils I take to Blathers, of course. I do my daily, regular things that I do when playing Animal Crossing. I'm kind of like done, you know? I saw a couple of the fish, I saw a couple of the whatevers, and I decide I'm done. I said, oh wait, I should stop by that campsite just so I can check that off the list as well. And Matt, I press A to open the tent. I wait for a second, everything fades to black, and when the black comes up, I screamed. I screamed! The top of my lungs. I scared both dogs. I startled Katie. She thought that I hurt myself. No, Matt, it was Rolled. He'd found me after all this time, after so many years, far, far away. I immediately stopped everything I did and was doing. I played all the games with him. I guessed what color card he had in his hand. I got it right once. I got it wrong twice. It didn't matter because our friendship is pure and true. And he said, I'd love to move here, but there's no room for me. And I said, shut up. And I ran to town hall. I said, Tom, get this man a plot. I had one plot yet available. I'd been saving it, hoping for the day. So I bought the final plot. I ran back. Before I could even tell Rold the good news, there's a plot for you, Rold. There's a plot for you, Rold. He's already on the phone with Tom Nook, saying, I've just got off the phone with Tom Nook. It looks like we're going to be neighbors, Waddler. I'll see you tomorrow. High five, Rold. Welcome to Tono Show. I'm so happy. So happy. Now, I've been playing Animal Crossing every single day. I go in, I shake the trees.
Ask.
I'm getting acorns and pie cones for all the weird recipes I got going on now. There's weird fall stuff coming. Still no change in the leaves, but that's okay. We're going to get there because I get to see my buddy every day. Now, we're still in the early stages, so I did have a pre-wrapped... I have several gifts wrapped and ready to go for him, but he can't accept gifts at this current time. So I've been giving gifts to other people to compensate, but everything is right in the world. Like, it just shows you that a little bit of patience goes a long way. That good things come to those who wait is ultimately... And I think one day I will live in the woods. And speaking of which, my wooded home atop the hill in Animal Crossing now has another house on the property. I would not let anybody up there, but Rold now has his house on my property. So we have that. We have a nice little shared graveyard out front. We have scary music playing from the Skull radios all around the grounds. It's a great way to live, I tell you. It's good living up here with Rold.
Well, congratulations, bud. I'm glad you found happiness in the world.
I genuinely lit up. Because you remember how the lament, the pure...
I remember the story.
Oh, man. Heart-wrench.
And how Mark stole him.
I don't even know if Mark stole him. He just disappeared, just went on to finer things, you know? But it's okay, because he's back. Also back was a Nintendo Direct this week, Matt.
Ooh. Little surprise boy. Did he?
Yeah, they
Shadow dropped?
Did you say did anything Shadow drop?
I mean, well...
Oh, the Direct was, yeah.
The day before?
Yeah,
okay,
the Direct, basically, so here's how my morning went that day. I'm working. Mark sends me a text and says, Mario's birthday is on September something. And then he says, wait, psych, it's actually on the 3rd, which is today. And then he says, oh, wait, or oh, snap, or something like that. And then we get, in our group chat, the Direct YouTube link. Yeah, I think so. For the 3rd week in a row, we had the Indies Direct, then we had that third-party Direct, and now this week we had Super Mario Brothers 35th Anniversary Direct with a litany of announcements. It's probably not the correct word to use here, but I'm going to use it anyway. So we're getting Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers on November 13th for $49.99. I want this thing. This is a reconstruction of the original Ball Game & Watch physical device, but... You can play Super Mario Brothers 1 and the original Japanese 2, or as we got it here, Lost Levels. They recreated the Game & Watch Ball game with a Mario theme. There's an internal clock that you can peek at. It seems like a nice, weird little piece of Nintendo history. It's one of the things, like, back from the Club Nintendo days that I feel like would have been a cool thing to have on the shelf. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit was announced. I think this had been previously announced maybe or hinted at or something, but these are remote-controlled go-kart cars. They have little mounted cameras on them. You can choose between Mario or Luigi, and then each place set comes with these like little racetrack place markers, flags, gates, things like that. So you place them down in your real home and then race through them, and it all syncs to the Switch game where you're actually controlling things and it's reacting. And there's little things like you put down banana peels and your car will actually physically stop as it's moving, that kind of stuff. So those are out October 16th, $99.99 per set for Mario and Luigi each. That seems like a really cool thing if you have a kid and you have, I'm going to say hardwood floors. I can't imagine that would work too well on carpet. But I don't know. Then we see Super Mario Brothers 35. So first, we see the Tetris 99 influence here, but really there was a game called DMCA Takedown. A browser-based game that was, I think, originally called 99 Marios or something like that. But it was the idea that you had a bunch of people playing Super Mario Brothers together at the same time. Nintendo has taken the concept and applied the Tetris 99 stuff to it, even to go as far as having the right stick pivot to choose who you're attacking. But as you kill enemies in your game, they'll get dumped into other people's versions of Super Mario Brothers. This is available for Nintendo Switch Online members from October 1st through March 31st. Also for Nintendo Switch Online members, Super Mario All-Stars was added to the Super Nintendo catalog, which is funny because it's one of the ones where in the back of my head I was like, boy, I hope they add that one day. They added it. I fired it up. I fired it up on the, what do you call it, the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom versions just to see the box art there, launched the game, ran to the right, finished one level, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool, there it is. So maybe I'll sit down and spend some time with that, but Mario All-Stars, something about the art style never jived with me. Don't know why.
I was going to ask, what is different between All-Stars and the versions they have? Because aren't the versions all on that Super Nintendo app thing anyway?
Yeah, they are. The thing with All-Stars was it was a way for them to put 1, 2, and 3 on Super Nintendo back in 1990 whatever.
I know that. Yeah.
And when they did it, they applied a new art style to it. Everything kind of had the same 16-bit art style to it, so it was a much more uniform look, all with the same levels. I think there's probably some deeper nuance that I'm not remembering right now. Some minor gameplay things that are probably different, but generally speaking, it's a new coat of paint across the board. That's a little reductive, I know, but there's also a big kind of wave of Super Mario events, is what they called it, and these are running through March 2021. This was everything from t-shirts and physical goods to stuff like a Splatfest. There were shoes and chocolate, all sorts of things with Mario plastered across it. The one thing that I thought was interesting about the Splatoon stuff is that they're doing the keychain you can order, choose your side and you can order the keychain, or you can order one of each, at least according to the Japanese My Nintendo page. And then they're doing Splatfest t-shirts, physical t-shirts, so a couple things. One, I've wanted Splatfest t-shirts forever. Some of those old Splatfest t-shirts I would have ordered if I could have one in real life. So I hope that is a trend that is not going away. Additionally, I hope the trend of having physical goods back in My Nintendo is something that's moving forward with Nintendo. I miss that stuff from Club Nintendo. I have a pin set up there. I don't know what else I have, but that, like I said, that Game & Watch thing, they used to sell one of those with Club Nintendo points way back in the day, and it's just neat stuff that's it's something extra for Nintendo fans that I think is cool to have, and it's stuff that they have been doing in Japan for a little while. There's a lot of stuff you can get through the Japanese My Nintendo shop. So the fact that they're starting with this, I hope it's the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's the part that I think hurts the most. Japan has all this stuff, and we get little drops of it.
Yeah, which it was always that way.
We know what they can do.
Yeah, like you see what they can do, and they just don't do it here. Like there's a back in the Wii era, there was a Super Famicom controller that had the original buttons and everything, but it worked with the Wii remote. I mean, obviously now we have those cool Switch ones that they sell, but back then this was unheard of, and you could only get it through Club Nintendo in Japan and Europe, but America never got it. And back then, I remember Reggie being asked about it, and he said, Nintendo of America serves America as a whole, from Canada down through Latin America, so they would need to make sure they're going through all of these different channels for physical distribution of goods in every single country. It's not just North America, so it's a lot more difficult for NOA to get that stuff off the ground than it would be for Japan or Europe, but still, I want it. One thing I think a lot of people wanted was Super Mario 3D World. It was also announced this is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which they'll show more of later on. But February 12th, 2021, this is almost completing the Wii U migration to the Switch.
What's left?
Xenoblade Chronicles X? Is that the name of it?
You're asking the wrong person that one.
And that might be it. Because we got Tokyo Mirage, we got Pikmin 3 was a big one that was coming.
It's coming.
But that's it may have been that might be the last one, is Xenoblade Chronicles X that I can think of. Sure.
So no, we're moving on.
Nintendo Land. They would have to probably polish that up a little bit, but I really liked the idea of Nintendo Land. Things like that would have been cool. So I don't know, man. They also announced, kind of not in the direct, but separately, Cat Peach and Cat Mario Amiibo will be launching on the same day, and they look furry. Not actually like with fur, but they look like they're textured in a way. And then finally, to close out the show, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, all in one package, available from September 18th through March 31st for $59.99. There's an in-game music player that lets you play through all of the music. They're doing minor upgrades, some higher resolutions. It seems like no big changes to the textures, but there's something going on to smooth things out a little bit. In the case of Super Mario Sunshine, there's 16:9 aspect ratio. How do you feel about this? About the 3D All-Stars as a package?
I mean, I like the package. It missed one, though.
Galaxy 2?
Yeah.
I have a theory. I think this limited run thing is... They do this for the anniversaries of things, where, especially Mario, there are these games or packages that come out and they're only available for a limited time and they go away, and it makes it special to celebrate the anniversary and all that stuff. I have a feeling that these games are evergreen, as Nintendo likes to call a lot of its properties. And I think these evergreen titles cannot not exist on the Switch past March 31st. I think what happens after March 31st is you can't buy them as the package anymore. You'll be buying them at $20 a pop. And what I don't know for sure, my crystal ball is not there. I have a feeling that for people who do buy the package, you'll get Galaxy 2 as a free add-in, and everyone else will have to buy it separately for $20 after the fact. It's a guess. It's purely guess. But I'm just thinking, like, this is a weird package to begin with. We don't know how this has been affected by... It seems like Japan's workforce has been really hit hard by work from home order. And Nintendo is no stranger to that. And I think that this is probably... So the thing I'm a little bit... We heard about this a couple months back. So I think if we hadn't heard anything about it, and I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I'm still getting this. I'm excited to play these games. But I think a couple months back when this was first talked about, I think, via Video Game Chronicle, back when they had their little hotspot of news stories week over week. The idea was that Super Mario 64 was going to be getting kind of a remake. And slapping a 3D All-Stars title on this, I mean, like we talked about with regular All-Stars, the idea there was they took the Super Mario World art style and palette in the 16-bit and put it onto those old games. So when we heard that this was being dubbed 3D All-Stars, my imagination ran that Galaxy, Sunshine, and Super Mario 64 would all be given these big upgrades to make them look closer to Odyssey in spec. Or at least that like the Galaxy style would be retrofitted to Mario 64 or Mario Sunshine. So you'd have these kind of like bigger, crazier, polished whatevers. We're not quite getting that. It seems like these are really just ports of the games with some very minor tweaks. It's not to discount what work goes into this stuff, but I feel like the promise of this through what was leaked way back when was a lot bigger. Maybe that says a lot about leaks and hype and expectations and all that. But how did you feel about the general announcement of this one?
I mean, like you said, we knew it was coming, and kind of like once we saw the direct, without even knowing, not without this necessarily getting spoiled, I had a feeling this would end the show, and I was kind of right there. But I was like immediately starting to think, like, how do you do Galaxy? How do you pull that off without a Joy-Con? Because that, like, getting the bits on the screen is such a part of that game. So yeah, I was just thinking, like, all right, how do you get Galaxy onto Switch? And what else can you do? Like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm just more happy that they're available for the Switch at this point, and not. I don't think I need the upres. I feel like that's part of the charm of these games. And now, granted, like some people have had all these Nintendo consoles and probably have purchased these games, well, Mario 64 repeatedly off the Virtual Console, but or even hell for 3DS, they didn't do Super Mario. They do 64 3D.
They did 64 DS on the original DS.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I like it's fine, and I think the $60 price tag's fine too. Like it's fine.
No, I'm with you. Like
I'm missing a game.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like I definitely felt when it was there. I think the fact that it's available September 18th also makes it easier because it's like, okay, it's right here. It's happening. Of these three, I've never played Sunshine because I never owned a GameCube until much later, and I never went back to Sunshine. Galaxy I loved, and I did play that all the way through. 64 I never owned. I would just play here and there, and then I did end up buying on Virtual Console, both on Wii and Wii U, but never finished it through. So I'm kind of looking forward to just diving into that and giving that a whole shot. My only counter, because I do agree with everything you said, I think we're aligned there. I would have paid $60 alone for a Super Mario 64 Anniversary Edition the way that Halo did press select to swap art styles. Like, I was fully there with this, thinking that we were going to get that kind of package.
You mean the back button?
The view button, as it is on the Xbox One now. They changed it from back. Now it's view and list, I think is what they're officially called. It's cool. I think it's I think like you said, having them on the platform, I think is cool. I think I kind of hope that just we can get more stuff on Switch without it having to be this big package. Like this makes me wonder what they'll do for Zelda, if anything. Because historically Zelda and Metroid have been ignored. Zelda paid more attention to, Metroid barely even a wink. But like Mario gets the most treatment. I feel like even Mario doesn't get the celebration that I think it deserves. But then Zelda and Metroid respectively just get less and less attention. So I'm curious, like, do we get a package like this next year that has Ocarina and Majora? Or do we just start getting 64 games ported over? Like, I don't know. Probably not, because like their whole thing was not to do another Virtual Console.
Yeah, I don't see them. You might get an Ocarina Majora's package, but I don't see like really, unless they full remake something, like if they want to remake Twilight Princess or something like that. But yeah. You're not.
I guess,
You think this is the holiday for Switch? This and Pikmin?
oh yeah, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I can't imagine much else. For a second, I thought that Mario Kart Live was a new Mario Kart 9. I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah, that's what I thought too for a second. Yeah.
But
no, no, not that.
Yeah. No, I think this is it. I think that there's...
Hell, dude, they're launching a new console in this.
Right.
You know, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah. So,
Probably on the day the Xbox comes out, honestly.
What's that? Oh, the
Game &
November
Watch, it comes
13th.
out on the 13th.
That new console. I thought you meant.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant their holiday is light because of the potential new Switch launch next year.
No, that's a new console. That's a new handheld.
Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm in.
I saw that date. I thought it was cool, and I saw that date and just started laughing.
Yeah. Honestly,
go line up outside of Best Buy. Could you imagine that? Go line outside of Best Buy, like, oh, I'm here for the Game & Watch.
Dude, I might. I want to see what pre-order details look like for that thing, but
well, look, you can, if PlayStation also comes out on the 13th, you can stand in line outside with me.
Yeah, I'm there for the Game & Watch. Thank you. So speaking of remakes and ports and upgrades and everything else, Matt, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is out this week, and this is kind of exactly what I would want out of a Mario 64 port, although I don't think we're gonna get it.
Not, unfortunately.
No. But, Matt, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is out. This game is exactly what I wanted in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. We've had so many missteps in the last decade with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise, and it seemed like right from the announcement of this, what Vicarious Visions was going to do is exactly what I wanted them to do. Playing the warehouse demo gave me a good taste of that. And now playing, as of this recording, I have to finish a handful of goals in one level and then finish the final competition in the bull ring. And I've 100%ed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. 1 is already done. I just have 2 levels to wrap up in 2, plus the bonus levels that I need to get through. But I played through each level, getting all goals, all stat points, all of that stuff before moving on to the next one. So I did that, and I was basically through 1 the first night it came out in the first couple of hours, and then I love this game. I said at the top, I don't know if I said it on the recording, but like your Call of Duty, yeah, I did say it on the recording. Your Call of Duty experience is kind of where I'm feeling with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to do anything. Like the first night I played for 2 hours. I got through the first 4 levels, all goals, all everything. Went to bed, and then laying in bed, and I'm like, I just want to go back down and play more. I grabbed my Game Boy Advance, and I'm playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 on it, and I'm like, why am I I should just go downstairs. So then I laid in bed for 2 hours till like 1:30 in the morning, thinking about how I want to be playing the game more, and then eventually just fell asleep, and then when I woke up, I was mad that I didn't go play it. But I think first, just to lay out for folks at home who are wondering, like, should I get this? What is this game like? I was a fan, but I've been burned. I know, me too. I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. And I played the first HD, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, where Robomoto, the developers behind Tony Hawk 5, ported these games originally, and they just did not feel good. I think this is equal parts nostalgia and completely wholly new video game. It feels like you want it to feel, but it modernizes so much of what, when you go back to those old games, does feel dated in ways. I still think those original games feel a certain way, and they really are timeless in that way. Like, I can always go back to that, not in the way that you can go back to something like GoldenEye. Or I'm worried about something like Mario 64. Like, does that still hold up? Yeah. I'm sure it does. But without the N64 controller, like, does Mario 64 still feel exactly the same? This feels like I'd want it to feel. I think all the level layouts, like, as I've been going through now, I think almost 20 levels, I think it's like 17. Now through all of that, like, my muscle memory kicks in where I'm like, where's the, oh, right, it's over there. And then, like, when I see the list of goals drop on a level, and it's like, hey, kickflip TC's roof gap. I'm like, I know where TC's roof gap is. Like, it's just that stuff comes right back to you like that. There's a lot about those original games that I think that I forget about until you go back to them. But like things, when you're in the middle of a level and you're like, wait, what are the challenges I have to do? A lot of that stuff you can't do without hitting start, view goals, waiting for a loading screen. Then it loads the JPEG they've got embedded. Like, it takes a while. Where things like that have been modernized. You just press pause and there's your goals right on the screen. And I think
they also let you look at the goal camera as well, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and they'd done that in some of the previous games, but it was always a hassle to get to. It was always like buried in some menu, or you couldn't be actively running in a level. Like now, you could just hit start and say, "Wait, show me the goal thing again. What am I supposed to do?" And then they've on top of just the level goals, because like I said, I don't know how many hours I'm into it at this point, but I'm basically done with all of the goals and everything. There's hidden alien plushies in every level that now I'm going back and trying to find. And there's also the Vicarious Visions Vs. Have you seen those in the levels? The same way that you'll have floating stat points, you'll have this V logo. And collecting all of them does something, I'm sure. I've been good about like not looking up that stuff to see like what does it do, because I want to know for myself. But there's those, and there's alien plushie dolls hidden in every level. Or more than that. If you go into like the challenges, I think it is, you can look at like secrets and you can see how many you've collected out of how many there are. So I'm close, but yeah. But even outside of just those straight level goals and getting those little collectibles, there's all of these big challenges for you as a player, generally speaking, but also for every skater in the game. So there's really just a ton of content to get through. Like, there's little things that you do early on where it's like, hey, do 5 reverts. Great. Challenge completed. Do a lip trick, manual, and revert all in one combo. Great. Completed. And there's all of these things, but there's big ones like do 10,000 flip tricks, or do a combo with 25 different moves without grinding. Like stuff like that that's just like, it's going to take some time. Your character probably has to have full stats to do a lot of these things. But you do all of these things, and they start to grant you skate shop cash and XP. As you level up, you unlock new apparel, decks, wheels, create a park things, and then you buy them all with the cash. So it just around just as a whole complete package, like you're skating to unlock things, and it's all cosmetic. It's just for fun. But like some of the best parts of those old games were being able to like get the skateboards that I had in real life in the game. And like, it's been 20 years since I've had this one deck, and I have it in the game. Like, it's cool that it's there again. And it's cool. This is the first time where I've been able to make a character that I feel happy with the look of. The beard option is finally like an acceptable beard. Most times when they do a beard option, it's like,
well, hold on, you didn't play Red Dead.
Fair. But outside of Red Dead, most video games, the beard option is just like, that doesn't look like a beard. That looks like something that someone wanted to do and didn't commit to. Like, I haven't taken a blade to my face in a decade, right? Like, let me show that in a video game. And I can, thanks to Vicarious Visions. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I've been really impressed. Like, I honestly forgot about the creative skater stuff until I was screwing around in the career mode for the first few levels. I was like, oh wait, yeah, you can do that. And it's the first game in a long time where like my thumbs hurt the morning after. Like, I'm sore underneath my nails on my thumb just from so much. Like, I have played this game, and I just, it's all I want to do.
Well, I'm glad you got that. So I picked this up myself as well. I don't have the time. You have it. I think I only played for maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half or so. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, Vicarious Visions, they've been nailing it with this like whole, it looks like it should, but it plays how it did, which is still good because, like you said, this game, it kind of is timeless. Now, granted, they've added in some of the stuff from even 4. I think, did Underground add in like some of that stuff or was it just 4 where you can like switch out like grinds and lip tricks and things like that?
You mean like as
You know
you're
what I'm talking
moving?
about? No, so you go like say like you go little lip trick and then you hit triangle and then it switches. Was that 4 or was that
I
underground?
think that was 4.
So like, even stuff like that like I is just kind of instinct from probably underground is the one I probably played the most.
Yeah.
It's just nice, like all of that, like going into the warehouse, getting in the pipe, and then hitting R2 into a manual into my next thing. It was like, thank God I can finally do this the way I should.
It fits though, like that, and the wall plant being in there obviously weren't there at the beginning, and the reverts they weren't in 1 or 2, but all that stuff being in there, it all feels natural and it doesn't feel out of place. The people who like the purists, they really want it. You can go into the options and change it so it's just Tony Hawk 1 and 2 controls, but I really don't think you need to. I think that they did a really good job at making the game play the way it should play.
And it's like, it's funny, like I go back through warehouse. I'm not gonna say I know like the back of my hand, but like I know.
Yeah.
Hangar, same thing. I know. But then after those 2 levels, I think that's where it shows like I did not own 1 and 2. I did not own, well, I owned 3. Mm-hmm. But like that's when my knowledge level, like I'm struggling in the school to find all the things I need to find. And it's like, I remember this level. I remember the dumb officer driving around.
Yeah.
I remember the dumb lines he says. I think there was one where he said he has to poop. Like, fucking stupid, but great. But yeah, like, this is going to actually kind of almost be a new experience for me as I go through this. The 2-minute clock brings anxiety to me, but that's just the way these games play. That is what it is. I'm not changing history to, take away a 2-minute clock. I think that's why I like 4 so much, because Free Skate's built into the career mode. But that's a whole different conversation. What's cool about this though is like, even though I do have that memory and knowledge of them, a lot of the levels when I was a kid, I would play through, get done, and that was it. I'd never go back to them. So, or upon subsequent like revisiting those games, I would only revisit parts of them. So I would play the same handful of levels over and over and over. So like, when I got to downtown in Tony Hawk 1, I was like, what is this level? Like, I barely remembered anything of it, which is a cool thing because it does feel so brand new in that way. And I think that even within levels that I did know, like the Philly level I'm in now in Tony Hawk 2, I'm in there, but there's a part where you go around, you have to collect skate, obviously, and you grind up this one staircase and hit a light or a electrical pole, and it knocks down and knocks this whole like construction site open. That's like thing, right?
The what?
It's like an interstate overpass. You have to.
Yeah. But like,
yeah.
Oh wait, are you thinking of LA? I can't.
I think you're talking about downtown. Maybe I got confused.
Either way, but like you do that, and like I remember that level, but I don't remember that part. And I'm sure it was in there in the beginning, but like there's still stuff that I think someone who's played it forever and ever, or thought that you played it forever and ever, you can still experience as like wholly brand new. And speaking of which, like I think another good new part to talk about is the soundtrack, which they added, what did we say, like 37 songs on top of what was already in there. And
looked at that track list, it is long.
Yeah, but like a couple things. So all of the songs work for the most part. There's like one that I really don't like. But it's one song out of the whole set list, and it is, when we first heard that they were adding those songs, I think I said with the caveat, like, I'm cool with them adding stuff as long as it fits thematically and I can skip it easily if I want to. And boy, can you skip as easy. Just hit right stick. Just click it in. That's it. And you're on to the next
Pretty
one.
Smart, just to let you do that on the fly, too, instead of having you just, like, turn off the song. Like, sometimes you're just not in the mood for that song, you know? Maybe you've heard it 30 times already because you purposely have played it 30 times in a row. Like,
right, yeah, I mean, I heard Superman so much, and Superman has come up through so. That like when I was playing some level and it like came on again, I was like, I'm good. Let's skip. Oh, we're doing.
I don't think if I'm like in the zone, serious, trying to figure out like where the hidden tape is in the level, and Superman comes on, I think I'm just going to immediately laugh because of our experience in the last year with Superman and Halo. I'm going to skip and move on to like police or whatever.
Yeah,
Police
right,
truck.
exactly.
Yeah.
But even like, but I think to the same effect, like when I got to Downhill Jam, I skipped to Police Truck so I could hear that, because that is, for me, from the N64 version, Police Truck was the Downhill Jam song. So when I'm there, I need to hear that playing. But yeah, I think it's great, man. And like the 2-minute thing sucks, but like it forced me to play a little bit differently. Like there's the Venice Beach level in Tony Hawk 2, and in there you have to ollie the magic bum 5 times. So you find the bum, you ollie over him, he vanishes into thin air, and you have to find where he moved to and jump over him again. And I could not remember where he was for the life of me. And I'm not looking at anything, you know what I mean? I'm doing what I can not to look things up. So, because I think it's just better that way to discover. So I'm sitting there for like these 2-minute intervals, like, okay, he's here. Then I'd find his second location, but I'd have to run it. I probably ran it 10 times, like spending 20, 30 minutes tracking where he moved to throughout this level. And it made me find different parts of the level I wouldn't otherwise have explored and try different things. And it's just, and
it's have to utilize freeze skate too, because that's part of my problem. Like especially School 2 in Tony Hawk 2, like it's weird. It's like this weird like triangle setup.
Yeah.
And so like I'm like still like trying to figure out how to get to certain areas of the map. So I just have to. It's one of those things where I don't know the levels like I thought I did. So I just have to kind of maybe free skate just to figure out how to get in some weird places where where they would put things that are hidden or whatever.
The boneless is your friend.
Fun, though. What? Oh yeah, boneless. Yeah, I already had to use boneless once to do the one gap overhanger over top the helicopter. Yeah. I know boneless and no comply. We're good.
So good. It's just again across the board. Like I'm super impressed. It's all I want. Like this long weekend, Labor Day weekend, just spending the whole time with Tony Hawk. Outside of physically skateboard, like I went skating last weekend. I'm going again today after this, and like that's, it feels good to be 13 again. I tell you what.
How are your knees feeling?
Good. My problem is I bashed up my shin, not skating, gardening. So I'm still like sore from that. Like I gashed it open.
How it feels to be 13 again? You busted your shin gardening.
It was raining, and I slipped, and I hit my shin on the porch, and it got pretty. Like it was a lot of blood. It puffed out like a golf ball on my shin.
Oh.
It was gnarly, but so that's like about a week out. It's basically done, but like last week I skated like the morning after, and you could feel it every time I'd push. But it's all about the ride, man. Me and Tony get it, you know? I don't know what else to say other than just like glowing reviews. I love the customization of it. I've been loving seeing which boards I unlock, which clothing I unlock. Like there's a lot of it there that's really good. I really I struggle to find anything bad to say about it. The only thing that's like the tiniest bit off is I think, and I'm playing on an Xbox One S, so it's probably that. I don't know if you're having it on base PS4, but the textures of clothes when you first load into those menus take a second to render. Like logos don't fully render right away, but like I'm not mad at that.
I didn't notice it, but I also didn't like dive into the menus heavy. It was more like I had so many notifications in the top part of it after you complete like one level that I was just trying to figure out like where they're coming from, so I wasn't even really paying attention for that. But
when you peek at it and just see it, I mean, it doesn't make a difference. Honestly, it's like an extra second where it just hangs, where it's like you can see there's a black shirt, but you can't really see what's on it. And then, okay, there's the logo. That is, honestly, that's the one bad thing I can say about this, and it's not that big of a deal. I think
it's a pop-in texture in a menu that has nothing to do with gameplay. Yeah, that's excusable.
Yeah, and it takes me 2 seconds, and it's already, like, I'm already scanning the rest of the shirts and stuff anyway. I don't know, man. I love it. I love changing what my skater looks like. I've been loving leveling him up. And I love the idea, like looking through and seeing all of the character specific challenges. Like I really have, there's a reason to go through and play as every skater. Like I think there's a lot of cool stuff.
Well, that's like callback to 4, right? All
the challenges.
Career mode. until like 4, where like you had like the special like pro skater goal, the things at the very like it's like an end game thing for each skater.
I don't remember. I like 4. I played a little bit of. Like I don't think I ever owned 4. I rented it, and once it had me sketching on an elephant, I took it back to Blockbuster. Like I played it enough to like get through, but at that point, I was way more into Thug than I was 4, or I'd just go back to 3.
They definitely had like character unique challenges. Like I remember you had to hit like special moves with Tony Hawk, and eventually like like half pipe transfer like on a rooftop doing a 900.
Yeah,
I remember Bucky Lasix was like, oh, he grew up in the slums of Baltimore where things were falling apart. So like you had to hit like I can't remember if it was like they threw the moves that you had to hit them on the half pipe, or you had to get a score challenge. But like the half pipe was falling away, so you had to like be creative with where you were landing on the half pipe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I know Tony Hawk Forward started, as didn't know if 3 or 2 or 1 had like specific things to characters besides just like leveling up their stats individually.
Not that I think 3, if anything, had a little bit more stuff like that. Not that detailed. But I think 3 probably had a lot more that I'm not remembering. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just that it's all really exciting to be able to go back and do that. Like I looked and saw a couple other skateboards that I had when I was a kid. And it's like, hey, you need to do these Jamie Thomas things to unlock that board. Like that stuff's like cool. I can't wait to play as Jamie Thomas and unlock that thing. I don't know. I super into that game.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it turned into what it is, and we finally have a somewhat, good Tony Hawk game here in the last.
Yeah, and when you launch into that menu, like you can see Tony Hawk 1, 2, and then they have that like free skate option or whatever it is, or ranked challenges. Yeah. That menu is totally set up just to add Tony Hawk 3 into it, to add 4 to it, to add, like just build it, man. Build the platform. Go full on Call of Duty with it. That's fine, Activision. You got my money. I don't know, man. I can't say much more about it. I'm super into it. Speaking of Activision, Matt, Call of Duty Warzone. As I've been spending more and more time in Tony Hawk, I know that your clock is increasing on Warzone. How has the week with Warzone been?
It's been fine. I really thought that Tuesday would have more update day, would have more maybe with Black Ops after the reveal and things like that, but it seems to be kind of at like its spot now. All the Easter egg stuff is done. You can still go into like the bunkers, and because there's loot crates, like the high end ones in there for gear and stuff if you want to go in. But no, I thought maybe they would keep trickling in the Black Ops stuff, like maybe lean into the multiplayer reveal or even past it, or just keep building all the way up to release on November 13th. But no, they kind of eased off the gas pedal here a little bit. Someone pointed out, it was a YouTube video, that like, that splash screen that they show the beginning of the season, like, oh, the season's going to come with blah, 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 blah. Like, we have like 25 or so days left of the Battle Pass, and all those check marks have been hit besides, I think, one thing, which is an operator and a new skin. So, like, usually that stuff trickles down, so maybe like 14 days left. So people are thinking there might be one more thing. The multiplayer reveal for Black Ops is next week, so we'll see. But yeah, no, I was hoping for a little bit more, but like I said, the reveal for multiplayer is next week. Maybe it ties into Warzone. I know some of that stuff has leaked. I looked at some of the bullet points, but I'll wait and see. I'll watch it for myself.
We're also in that hot spot where, as we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, the delays into 2021, I don't think that Activision's going to be immune to this either. So maybe we are seeing right now this bit of the season is maybe in a lull because this is stuff that they had been developing and blah, blah, blah. And this is the first like part where we're seeing them impacted by work from home. So maybe, I don't know.
Like I said, it's not a big deal for me. Like, Warzone is Warzone. I mean, you get one big change a week, but yet I still play for hours on end every week. So it's not like that. Those changes are affecting me too much. I have completed the battle pass this week.
You did?
So no late nights for me. Yeah, I did. No,
gosh.
No late nights for me this time. Going the last 2 days of the battle pass.
And what was the final thing? Another operator skin, or
you got new operator? You got new. I think blanket new operator. And the opportunity for more skins with challenges with that operator. A new weapon blueprint. I think it was a car blueprint, like a car skin. I don't know. It's whatever.
Is the next thing? Because now we see what happens when you're in. Is the next thing that you will start prestiging battle passes? Is that our next? Did I just?
I don't know. You may have started something bad because you probably have to pay $5 to prestige it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't? You're telling me you wouldn't?
No, not to get the same stuff over again.
No. Not to get the same stuff. It'd be different stuff.
Oh, like a second tier.
Yeah.
Oh.
You prestige, you're going to get a hot thing on your whatever that marks that you did whatever. That you prestige the battle pass.
So this is actually where Rocket League does their Rocket Pass better. After you hit the cap, they still let you go on, and there's like higher end stuff. And I think it's the same cosmetics, but with like an extra shader or something in it. Or if you might even unlock like random stuff, but they let you keep going with it. Maybe there is an end cap at some point, but the end is just a soft end.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Give it time. It'll come to fruition. I bet you.
On a slow week, we'll talk about how to monetize the Battle Pass even more for people.
Like they need more reasons to monetize that stuff. Well, while that didn't get competitive, you did find yourself getting competitive in Mario Tennis Aces this week a little bit. Jumping back to that, I saw a couple times, I caught Matt playing some stuff on Switch, and I was like, huh? What's happening?
Yeah, man. Yeah, Mario Tennis. I believe the last time I talked about this game, it was in a rage of fit, and I said I'm never playing it again. Probably like, whenever that game came out, what, 2 years ago now at this point?
2 or 3. Yeah, 2018. That sounds right.
Yeah, so that was probably the last time I talked about it, and here I am back playing it. I don't know, they keep doing. Still a fucking good game, man. Like at its core, that is a fun tennis game, like arcade Mario Tennis. But Nintendo's been holding these tournaments every so often, and there was one that they announced in September, which I found out like after I started playing, I won't be able to probably do. But just to kind of freshen up my skills, get on that. Try to get my rank back up to where it was, kind of towards that top tier player, and maybe just kind of practice and get into game shape for a tournament, maybe win some Nintendo Gold points for a free game in the future. You get like 2,500 points or something like that, which
isn't that like $25?
Yeah, it's still whatever.
Yeah, no, that's good. I would have been surprised if they gave you $5. So 25 is pretty good. Yeah,
they usually host it. I don't know if it's Boom.tv or somewhere else. They host it through one of those like gaming tournament websites.
Yeah, I had done one of them for Smash a while back. I forget which thing they do, but yeah. What's the meta look like?
So that's the thing. I don't know what that is. You can go on the Reddit, and at some point, once an update or whatever, you'll see the tier list come out from the kind of the community or from a couple people's opinions. But that's the thing. I'm at such a low rank that even if someone's using like the top tier character, I am beating them just because I can outplay them. It's not a matter of abusing, or maybe not abusing, but like knowing how to play into the style of the meta against my person or whatever. So I'm still building at that, and that's the thing. Like I gotta, because I haven't played this game in so long, I gotta do the whole grind over again.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly climbing up. I've won 5 tournaments in the 6 tournaments I played in. I think it was my second game back that I lost to someone that wasn't like terrible.
And you're playing
I'm just
Pro Controller?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't play on the Joy-Cons or anything else. But yeah, like there are some games right now where like it's 1 point. Like we play 1 point, and I just know I'm gonna beat him in 8 straight points, and I'm moving on to the next game.
Right.
You just know. So yeah, I hopefully maybe I'll have a little bit more to say about where the state of this game is in a week as I get a more accurate picture. Or I might be back next week crying about how this game sucks and how I threw my Switch out my balcony and it hit a car and someone's random alarm went off.
I hate Waluigi. I hate Bowser Jr. If you start coming in dropping hatred for random Nintendo characters, I'll know what happened. Or if I just get a picture of one of the Koopalings on fire.
Dude, I almost did have a mini flashback to the first day I played it. It was against a Boo. I played a Boo, and I remember once you know how Boo plays, you're fine. But I hadn't played Boo in 2 years, so it was a weird match, and the anger started as soon as I saw that slice. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But now I remember, oh, that's right, you gotta play the net. You play the net against Boo. Yeah. So the strategies that I was using against different characters are coming back as I experience the frustration. It's all triggers in my head.
All the chemicals start flowing, and eventually you're there. Well, we're going to take a break, but when we get back, I think Matt left the tennis court and hit the soccer field. More on that after these short messages. Captain Tsubasa, Rise of the New Champions. Matt, a hot new soccer anime game. 2 things that Matt loves. How's it going?
Yeah, just another one in that genre for me,
as you are so often want to dive into. We talked about this game last week, I think, and I was like tangentially curious about it just because I had heard someone be excited about it. Did not expect you to like so quickly dive in, but then I saw you're playing it.
Yeah, it was weird because we had talked about it. I think we even talked about it off air and a little bit too, and was like about the $60 price tag. But it was like that day, lazy Saturday, because it was when the remnants of the hurricane were coming through here in Maryland. So I was just like I was doing a couple things around the house, even laid on the couch for a little bit, probably ended up falling asleep. But someone on Twitch was playing it that I usually watch, so I was like, I'm curious. Now I'm seeing gameplay of what's going on, and it looked fun. It genuinely looked like a fun, just arcadey, non-simulation based soccer game. So finally, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm pulling the trigger. So I bought it, and to my delight, it is actually a pretty good game. It is what it is. It's anime soccer, and it is very arcadey. So if you're looking for your simulation-based FIFA game, this is not going to be it. But as far as just other soccer mechanics in this type of environment, it plays really well.
Can you equate it to another? Like, is there another game like it that feels like this feels soccer-wise?
My best instinct would say it's something like a FIFA Street. But I think even FIFA Street is a little bit more, has a few more mechanics to it. Yeah. But it plays that kind of speed where you're not really going to like, I don't think your strategy is going to break down a team. I think it's going to be your play and just like individually getting around people. Because a lot of this game, a lot of it works with a player's spirit. So that's how you're going to sprint. You're going to use spirit. I put that in quotes. That's how you're going to sprint. That's how you're going to do moves. That's how you're going to tackle. That's how you're going to shoot. And a lot of this game evolves around meter, like charging things. So tackle and deacon is fine. Like as long as you have a little bit of spirit, you can do them. And even that system is a little bit of a rock paper scissors because like ZR does one thing. And RB is your sprint, but if you dash, like if you're sprinting, you will avoid another type of tackle. So between those two moves, you dodge different types of tackles. So just right there is kind of like one of the key strategies to the whole game. But then, like, if you get close enough to shoot, like, this isn't like FIFA where I've yet to score a goal just by shooting and directing it in a certain area away from the goalie. You charge your shot, and that's when you get these animated shots that, like, have an eagle swooping in or a spin or a slice. And then from there, like, the goalie has spirit as well. So as you take these shots, the first shot's never probably going to go in. It's going to be the second or third, because as you take these powerful charged shots, these eagle shots, spin shots, whatever you want to call it, like, whatever shot that specific character has, as the goalie saves it, his spirit will go away. And then eventually, when his spirit is low enough, these goals are going to start kind of going in as you charge these shots. And then you have to be within a specific range, and that's where, like, character ability can come in. I don't see really, like, too many statistics on players. I want to say, like, a number that you have more like that hexagon thing, that, like, point towards offense, defense, technicality, speed, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's where those little bit of ratings kick in, is like how far away can you start to charge that shot where, like, that animation will kick in, and things along that nature. So like I said, it's really that spirit meter has a lot to do with that game. So, like, I've not had one traditional shot go in. It's all revolving around charging a special character, like a special shot or things like that. But then, like, there's special character traits. Like, there's, like, defenders that have really good tackling, and I think, like, if their spirit is high enough, regardless of the tackle they do against you, they just get the ball anyway. So, like, there's different things like that play on both sides of the ball, which makes for an interesting kind of on the field experience. But yeah, so, like, that's the game itself. It moves pretty well. You know, they still have your regular soccer mechanics, like a through pass, you know, like a pass in the air, a through ball, like all that stuff is there. It's just, like, at least not at the level I'm playing at. I don't need it, and I don't feel like it's necessarily like I have to do it to succeed. I feel like if I can get around two defenders with the right deke and then get enough space to charge up a shot, that's when, like, I see more success. But maybe it's just I'm not playing on a high enough difficulty, which is where this game, there's like two modes. One, there's like a online mode where you just play people online. The first couple ranks, they require you to play against the computer. And I've done that, and then I haven't been able to find anyone to play online yet, so that might be an issue. Whenever I've searched like 2 or 3 times, maybe not at peak times, but still searched 2 or 3 times and couldn't find anything for a new game or a newer game, so that's not encouraging.
Always play thinking 13 hours ahead.
Maybe then I accidentally did that, because I feel like I was doing that in, like, the morning and at noon. Maybe not like...
Yeah.
Not like night stateside.
Like, today, if you play... Well, probably not now, but, like, if you played, like, tonight at 8 or 9 o'clock, I bet you'd be in a better spot.
So, yeah, we'll see. I'll keep trying at that. I'm not going to give up on that, but... Yeah, that kind of sucks. Like, one of the key modes of the game is kind of, like...
Yeah,
not existed for me right now.
Well, this released on more than just Switch too, so I wonder how it is on PS4 and other platforms.
And I thought about that, but I feel like the Switch, like, it got more advertisement for Switch than anything else. So if anyone was remotely interested in it, like kind of how I found out about it, and they might be more willing to go towards Switch. So that's kind of why I went where I went. But the game does have story modes. There's 2 of them. The one I haven't started yet because I'm still playing through the first one. But it's 2 modes. It's the story following Tsubasa, and then there is a story mode that will have you, I guess, create a new hero, a new character, and it will follow you. They said the Tsubasa one was for like beginners and first time players, and then the new hero one was going to be a little bit more of a challenge. And like I said, I feel like that challenge is going to be welcome here, because I'm starting to, in the regular story, like kind of easily win my games. And they're still incorporating like tutorials within that story mode, so I understand why they said to play that one first. But it's It's interesting. It's better than some other story modes I've played here recently that we might hear about later. Yeah, you're following Tsubasa Ozora. It is the last year of his eligibility to play at his middle school before he probably moves on to be pro. I don't know how Japan schools work, so I don't know if that's how things are over there or not, or if it's weird translation issues, whatever. But it's his last year of eligibility with his middle school, and they're going for a three-peat, 3-for-3 with him as the captain. And of course, all these other schools are trying to rival him, and it's kind of sets up to be like a middle school like Japan Cup, where like you coming out of regionals, represent a certain region of Japan, and then you're facing all these other winners of their regionals and stuff like that, because they keep saying from like this area of Japan or this area of Japan. So you're kind of going through that, but with that being the tournament, like they have to try to set up like the other team in two cutscenes almost, and they're trying to like. Within that cutscene, they're trying to tell you, like, or, you know, or convey, like, maybe a character or two on the other team to watch out for, or how they play. So you kind of can maybe do some strategies around how they play or whatever. And despite it kind of being rushed into two little cutscenes right before your game, it kind of works out. You get the information you need, and you kind of, like, become aware of a certain character on the field. And to me, I have no experience at all with this manga or anime, so like at least having like that dude to watch out for on the other team. Like I barely know my own team as it is. I know Tsubasa and I know a couple other people. I know this dude has like a single tooth coming out of his mouth. It looks like an idiot. But like, you know, after that, like I have no experience with these characters, so it's nice that the game kind of like, whether it meant to or not, it gives you almost like a villain on the other team to look out for. Like when I see that player on the field, I'm like, oh, that's the good one. I better stay away from him. So, you know, I think it's pretty effective for like a little story mode, especially when there's I have no prior experience with this. And then like as you're playing the game, I guess it's following the events of the anime or or one of the mangas or runs a manga, whatever. But like as you're playing, like it does these animated like cutscenes in the middle of the game that like are, I guess, were inspired by the anime. So but it's in engine. It's not like reverting back to like anime like TV. So I guess if you have watched the anime, you can appreciate some of that stuff they're doing as well. At least the different story beats. Like of course there's a game where Tsubasa gets hurt, so like he really can't do his charge shot. So you have to kind of like play around him. Despite him technically being the best player on your team. But yeah, it's a fun little game. I'm still going through it. I still have the urge to play it. My one concern is the lasting power of this mode or of this game period, just because one, the online, yeah, and then two, despite there being full rosters for many different teams. There's no season mode, like no like. I don't need like a franchise mode, like you know. I don't think there's enough depth here for a franchise mode, but like you know, do a season mode where I play once against every team. You make a playoff bracket, and then you know you go for the championship and have it like a difficulty meter on it. I think that would have been fun to do. Because all the rosters are there. Because the way you do your online, like you actually like have all the players like from the player pool available to you, but you have to it's like a salary cap thing. So like each player has a cost, and as long as you keep that cost underneath a certain threshold, like you can use that player. So I can go and get Tsubasa, but he's like ridiculously expensive, so I may as well get two really good players instead of having Tsubasa on my team. And that's the other cool thing with story mode. Like you can start, maybe I don't specifically know that name, but like I know, oh, there was that team that had a really good goalie. Right. I'm going to go and look through the menu for that team. Oh, his cost isn't like the highest of high. I can use that, and I have a good goalie that can keep their spirit high if I ever do find someone to play online. So I know the rosters are there. It's just because you have to go through the rosters to find that player, but it's just not a season mode there, which is kind of a little...
I could see that being added. I feel like Bandai Namco has been good with post-launch support with its games, and with this being... I don't know, something. This is not the first in this series, but it's the first one that's seemingly getting a lot of recognition, and the first one that's been released in the West in a long time. So I could see a bigger post-launch support tail on this one. So maybe they add stuff like that down the line, especially if I think, like, think about like your past experience, right? Like, you're coming to this from a different point of view than I think a lot of people may have been entering this franchise. And I think that how many other people are going to be converted like you were to something like this that otherwise wouldn't have played it, because it is filling a void of some type, like that FIFA's not. And I wonder if how much of voices like yours are going to make their way back to Namco and say like, hey, I would like this. And then that gets added. How anime is the story in Madden NFL 21 though, in comparison?
Ugh.
You seem just as enthusiastic about Madden as you are about Tsubasa. So I'm looking forward to hearing.
Oh, the face of the franchise thing just fell off a cliff.
Didn't it start already falling down that cliff, though?
It plummeted. The ocean has that drop-off point. Like, there's the first mini drop-off, and then there's the second one that goes into deep depths. That's just what happened.
You went into the reef. What, did Snoop Dogg come back? What are we at with?
No other guest appearances. It was all bullshit. Like, dude, give me more celebrity. If you're going to lead into it, dude, like, I know you have the characters and the money to do it. Like, all you have to do is just say, hey, we'll put your music in this game and you'll get some royalties out of it. Like, that's all you got to do, and the people will come. But, dude, it's so frustrating. So, one, all right, remember I said, I might have set the difficulty, like, way too easy by accident. So you can't change the difficulty in the middle of phase of the franchise. And then come to find out, when I completed it and it transitioned to actual franchise mode, I was playing on rookie the entire time. I played like 4 levels above that. So literally there was a point where I would like just throw like 5 Hail Marys to a certain individual and then just simulate the rest of the game, or until it got somewhat close, like maybe somehow I would just jump back in, throw like 3 more like Hail Marys, score, and then just go back to sim. Like, I was just trying my best just to get through it all, because there was no challenge whatsoever. And it didn't fucking matter if I scored 9 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns, or if I threw 6 interceptions. The story will play out how the story wanted to play out. So there's no incentive to play the game after, like, with there being no challenge or it not mattering at all, besides just seeing my draft stocks rising. That's all it said the entire time. I'm just going to spoil the story because it's not great. I'm going to try to save people from playing it.
Oh, wow.
Unless you really, really want to.
Yeah, I guess skip ahead if that's something you are concerned about, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You just do yourself a favor and just listen for like 2 minutes. So you end up winning. So this is the thing that's really confusing. You go into college and you're playing. And then all of a sudden, you win a national championship, but it's never said you're in your junior year of college. I have been assuming I'm a freshman this entire time. But then I start getting asked questions, or like it starts leaning like, hey, are you going to go into the draft, or are you going to stay for another year? I'm like, whoa. NFL rules say that I have to play at least 3 years of college football and then enter the draft. So where is this coming from? I've never been told I'm a junior. And you're breaking NFL eligibility rules if I do declare. So, like, what's going on here? So you win a national championship, and then, so you win, but like you started. Remember the whole split quarterback competition thing that was really bad. So in the semifinal of the college football playoff, I was the starting quarterback and played the entire game, and I lit up the other team and like threw 10 Hail Mary passes. Got 10 touchdowns, simulated, fine, we won. Next cutscene, coach tells me I'm not starting. Oh, no. It's assumed because the way Tommy's talking to me that he's starting the final and not me. And I'm riding the bench. Great.
Makes sense after a stellar game.
Yeah,
bench
all right. So,
the star quarterback.
At halftime, or like in the third quarter or whatever, his heart condition, I guess, starts acting up again. All right, great. Looks like I'm leading the comeback in the second half. Throw another 6 touchdowns alone in the second half. I'm a fucking star quarterback, you know? So you go visit him in the hospital with a trophy, and he's like, oh, you coming back for the senior year? You know, do me a favor. I want this, for myself, blah, blah, blah. I want to be part of it. Whatever. Maybe it's him transition to wide receiver again. I don't know. So I say yes. You, come back home from winning. Coach meets you in, your own dorm. And he's like, all right, I got to be honest with you guys because you guys, there was a quote that you told me about being honest with your troops and they'll follow you anywhere. So I need to be honest with you. We're going to have a starting quarterback this year, but I'm going with Tommy. What the fuck? I just scored 17 touchdowns in a matter of 2 games. No, a game and a half. And you're going to give it to the dude that has an injury history, of not staying on the field? I'm sorry, but in real sports, injury history matters, and that's a big part of whether you get a big contract or not. So, like, what the fuck, one. But then, two, this is the other thing. The options they give you suck. Like, you can declare for the draft, which still wrong because I've never was told I'm a junior, and it's only the first year of college. So I don't know why it's just assuming that next year is it or whatever. Dumb. And then, like, so I can declare for the draft, and they're telling me, oh, you're going to be like a 3rd round pick. Which means that, like, when I get into franchise mode, my dude's going to have low overall ratings, and there's no way for me to increase that despite me throwing, like, all these touchdowns and whatever in the matter of all these games. Like, all right, cool. I can stay, but I'm going to be made to convert to a running back or wide receiver. Oh, okay. Where's the option to transfer schools? That's another real thing that happens in college football, especially like people that can't get a starting job at their school. They go to another school, and it's kind of like a redemption story to get their draft stock up. Where's that option?
Really weird.
It's real bad. So I ended up staying. I did the wide receiver thing. All it was just like an extra game or 2. It wasn't even like another whole storyline. It just like rushed through the senior year as if like, oh, I probably shouldn't have picked that one. Yeah. You win the national championship again, and then you move on to the combine. But this is where it gets like really weird. Like at the end, like you started doing more of these like press things. Like I could see like the cutscenes starting to transform into probably what they're going to become in franchise mode. And in this startling like thing, you go up to this podium, your character's doing like a VO because you're doing that whole interview that's been at the very start of this, and you're going into flashbacks. He's saying, oh, it was weird going up to that podium that day, and then all of a sudden it's silence, and you're reading like
subtitles.
Script. Yeah, subtitles, like not voice acted. And I'm like, all right, maybe it's excusable. Maybe the media is not voice acted, but when it comes back to my guy, he'll say his lines, and whatever. It's not ideal, but it can work. Nothing. My guy doesn't even do voice acting at that point. And it was like so startling. Like Victoria's sitting right next to me watching me. She's like, oh, what's going on there? I'm like, I don't know. That's just really bad. So like, and then the game just started throwing me into more of those situations where things were in voice acted. So like, what the hell?
Just unfinished kind of thing, do you think? Or
I don't know. I really don't know.
Bug?
But it was the transition from face of the franchise to franchise. It wasn't a bug because like my dude's like doing VO talking about that day or whatever at some points during the unvoice acted parts. It's really bizarre and weird when you get there. So
it's like that's one of those things where I think lately in the last few years we've seen a lot of developers become more transparent and a little bit more visible with development stuff. And I feel like if someone could say, hey, here's what happened with this. We recorded all of this stuff and blah, 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 it got lost. Or like just some sort of explanation about what it is, I feel like it'd be immediately forgiven. Be like, all right, that's a weird thing. I can laugh at this while I'm playing it. No big deal. But the fact that it's just out there, face value, it's like playing something for Genesis that never got a patch or something, and you're like, this just sucks, or it's a bad thing that didn't need to be.
And then like it's, you hate to make the direct comparison, but when your competition, NBA 2K, has the same type of the podium, like social, like the media like interview stuff, and their media is voice acted, and then your character's voice acted, it's like, come on, man. Yeah. It's not a good like that's a legitimate 1-to-1 comparison between EA Sports and 2K right there, and EA Sports didn't do it to the same pedigree.
Yeah,
and that's the stuff that gets EA Sports in trouble when people start looking at their stuff. Yeah, so that was a bad thing. I'm starting to go through the franchise mode stuff. I'm finally getting up the difficulty, so that's fun. I can also finally player lock to my guy. So I did convert him to wide receiver, like I said. In the first game, they had me controlling the whole team, which I don't necessarily like doing in like a superstar mode. I like being like strictly player locked, so that way like I can't influence the game as much. Like in the first game when I had control of my guy, I threw him like 4 touchdowns. Like whatever, like I'm gonna get my guy the stats. But now like I'm gonna be at the mercy of the AI for better or worse. But it's gonna be more of an authentic experience, I guess, because as a wide receiver, I guess I can get frustrated. I'm not getting balls and demand trades, and maybe that plays into the storyline there or whatever.
I think that adds to a bit of the like your player immersion in the game. Like when you become the god of the team and you just control the entire team, and you're like, I feel like it's way too easy in those games, at least from the 12 years ago I probably last played one, where like you just dominate and whatever. And I feel like that's probably a smarter way to approach it, how you're doing it.
So I'm going to play some more. The face of the franchise has pretty much converted to franchise at this point. So
that's cool.
We'll kind of see where we go from there. It seems like some of the storyline stuff is sticking around, but we'll see. There's been no mention of where Tommy Matthews landed in the draft, which is kind of bizarre, especially if you were best friends and brothers and the Heartbreak Kids and all this other bullshit. Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, face of the franchise. We'll see where that goes this week. I'm not done with Madden per se, but we'll see where that goes.
How has the rest of the game been outside of face of the franchise?
Like I said, it's fine. I talked about like the actual playing Madden. Like that's fine. I still like the way Madden plays, even though it's not simulation. I don't need necessarily simulation, but I know why people are mad that it's not like looking for that. So I understand that argument. The online issue I was running into last week with the EA servers. Well, after we got done recording, I continued to have issues that Saturday. I was, you know what? There's no way that there's 2 days in a row where EA let this game burn and not one mention of it on social media. So it's got to be something weird. So I did some digging. People were complaining that so this is the other thing. People with early access that paid for early access were having issues with EA servers on those 2 days they paid for the early access. And then so I started going through their threads, and finally someone said, and I had to like dig deep through a couple threads. Someone was like, I just uninstalled the game and reinstalled it. Why? I mean, it's not a bad troubleshooting issue, but if it's an EA server thing, wouldn't you think it's on them and not on my install when everything else seems to be working right? So I deleted the game, reinstalled it, and I really haven't had an issue with the EA server since. So it must have been some kind of bad install with the pre-install before the day one stuff, or maybe my day one patch never activated. I don't know.
Weird.
But that was really bad, and for me, thank God I have gigabit internet. Like I got it back, playable within an hour. But still, like for those that don't have the same internet connection as me, that was probably like a whole nother day where.
Yeah, or somebody who just who goes and buys the disc, because people still do that with Madden. Yeah. And then,
Yeah, so, and I feel bad for those that ran into that issue with the pre-access. Like, you pay for that 2 days of access, like an extra $20, and some of those people did not get to experience that the right way, so that kind of sucks. And then I've dived, because I got online access kind of working how it should. I dived more into the yard, the new mode that kind of is like their NFL Street in a way. It's not the 7v7 experience that I thought it was going to be. Like EA SHL is 6v6. You can go up to 3 though. I believe you can match make for a party if you wanted to. I chose just to do 1-on-1 for right now. There's stuff to do, but it's going to get shallow quick because it doesn't feed into any other part of the game. So, like, if you're playing it and you love it, like, it's there for you. I just don't know what you're going to get out of it besides customizing your character, leveling up your character. It's not going to mean anything for you kind of anywhere else. At least, like, or maybe you can take some of those traits back into franchise mode, but I know, like, in EA, like, in NHL, like any like kind of traits I kind of like get can kind of sometimes be dumped back into the superstar mode for your created superstar. So I don't know, they will let you do that, and that would definitely help the argument. But it seems like the yard is the yard, superstar KO is superstar KO, and there's regular one like or ultimate team is ultimate team, and then regular online head-to-head is regular online head-to-head. It seems like none of that stuff is really being married in some way, unless it's all being dumped back to Ultimate Team as a way to try to get you to pay for a pack of cards or whatever. So
is that kind of the unifying like player XP thing outside of like everything just feeds back into Ultimate Team?
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if like the yard is like doing that, but like if it's going to feed anywhere, from what I've played, it's going to be Ultimate Team because that's the one I really haven't touched yet, and won't touch because that's But yeah, so you can do up to 3 players. When you queue into online games, they do like pickup style, so like old school NFL Street, where you could play with the regular teams, but then you could do the pickup game mode where you had like a random pool to choose from. They do that, and that's really cool. Except when you're picking position by position, which NFL Street didn't do. You could pick whoever you wanted, wherever you want it, and then kind of customize it after the fact. No, for this, you're very much picking position by position, and it's real fun when you get to a quarterback, and there's no quarterback on the fucking list. So then you pick whatever, but good luck trying to throw the ball. Like, running back or receiver can maybe throw the ball, but it's not the same precision or accuracy that I would want with an actual quarterback.
Right.
So then like you're stuck. Then you're stuck kind of playing the lottery of like, well, should I make my character because he needs to be in it? He needs to be as one of your 7. Do I make him the quarterback, or do I risk it and try to get another quarterback? Like, I like having my character as the running back because then he was in this better strategic spot, and I could put a better like thing on him to make him more impactful in the overall like on defense and offense. And then like you can direct snap to your quarterback if you pick them later, but with the direct snap, there's not enough time because you're not like in shotgun. So it's like me lining up at the line saying hike, but you right in front of me, and it's like 2-hand touch. You just tap me and it's over. Like that's the equivalent of doing that direct snap sometimes. So that's like the only like frustrating thing about that game as a whole is when you do that pickup game and you don't get a quarterback at that quarterback spot, and there's like no way to adjust it after the fact. Like it'd be one thing like, all right, I picked the running back there. I can kind of mentally remember that and then get the quarterback like in 2 rounds when I see him pop up as a receiver, which is weird. Nope. Can't. So that's kind of an afterthought there. I would love to like kind of mess around with formations and stuff like that, but you really can't.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's fucking Madden right now.
It might. So there's an announcement this week from the Madden development team, that mid-November will be the first of 3 planned post-launch franchise updates. The big community requests that are being addressed are X Factor superstar ability customization in both online and offline franchises. You're going to be able to look at player card career stats. They're going to change the UI so that you can see expanded stats for all players across every year of their career, including every team they've ever played on, as part of their little player card. Dev trait regression tuning, so they'll adjust progression across multiple years in a franchise to maybe. Do you think that'll? I don't know. Do you think that'll tune anything that you're kind of experiencing in a negative way, or is that just kind of whatever?
No, because it's all coming from franchise mode. So I haven't really dived into franchise mode besides me just entering it from face of the franchise. So none of the stuff I've seen or yet to. I really haven't dived into franchise like I have in the past. But like I know like the big thing going into this year, like from the start before this was even released, was they didn't really do anything with franchise mode. They didn't really say anything. And so like when you go into franchise mode and you're seeing stuff like this, like the player card not displaying career stats is I think that's a weird issue. Like that's one way of seeing without even looking at overalls to see regression or how much they played or whatever. So
right,
fixes like that is cool. I really do like the X Factor superstar ability customization for yourself. That's going to lead to some cool things you can do in leagues, especially to online. And then thank you, Madden, for reminding me that the playoff bracket for this year is not completely different, but has changed. I forgot that there's more teams in the playoffs this year. So thank you, Madden, for reminding me about that.
Yeah, that'll be in a new playoff bracket adjusted in there as well. And they said that a lot of the stuff is being detailed in their Good Morning Madden streams every weekday morning on Twitch. Have you been looking at any of those, or are you interested in that stuff? It's I'm curious to see how the game. Have they done big post-launch support the way that they're announcing this stuff in 3 waves before? Like, is this game salvageable from the kind of lukewarm reception you're seeming to have to it?
I mean, well, no, because my main complaint was the ridiculous face of the franchise mode, especially at the end. Like, it's one thing to have a bad story, but then like when the options just don't make sense, it's not fun.
Well, outside of that, like, do you think some of the other stuff with like the yard mode, like, do you think that's stuff that they will address, or is that stuff that's just like, hey, we put it out, we're done with this, we'll see you next year?
I think it's going to be see you next year.
I wonder if,
or maybe for next gen you can try to patch something in, but I don't know how that works.
But I wonder if you see, because we talked recently about how Call of Duty's been rising again, and how Call of Duty spent some years underneath, and I think a lot of the shifts that those developers and what Activision allowed its developers to do with that franchise have put Call of Duty in a better place. And I wonder if maybe that's where EA needs to start pushing its sports franchises. You know, get a couple of different teams working alternating years, that type of thing, so they can start to implement some serious changes in the background to it.
Yeah, I don't know, but like this whole thing about the mid-November updates, like, that's stemming from that hashtag, like, NFL dump EA being thrown around, like, since launch. So yeah, it's been pretty bad. I think I'm on more of the positive end of the of the reviews.
No, honestly. Yeah, I don't think you're outwardly negative about it. I think your criticism so far has been, from what I am understanding, pretty valid. I can't imagine people who are volatile on the internet, how they're reacting to it. Speaking of volatile, I was a little kind of gut check reaction here with this news story. Through an interview with Game Watch, Sega creative producer Yosuke Okunari confirms that Sega Ages is coming to an end. That's the M2 conversion of old Sega properties to the Nintendo Switch. This week's release of Herzog Zwei is the final in the Sega Ages line of releases. We've got a quote here that says, I, along with Sega's own Rieko Kodama and Kagase Shimamura, are currently hard at work on our next project. At this point in time, unfortunately, I can't tell you whether or not M2 will be involved. If this makes you think, oh, then they're definitely doing something with M2. I hope we can live up to your expectations. Sega is still planning on focusing on the Nintendo Switch, and M2 planner Tsuyoshi Matsuoka says that there are, quote, a lot of other titles that M2 wants to bring to modern audiences. Which, this is sad for me. I'll say that, as sad as it is, I will gladly put my foot in my mouth because I didn't buy every single one of these Sega Ages releases. And the ones that I did, it's not like I spent eternal amounts of time with them, but I did. The one that really stood out to me was Phantasy Star. When they ported that Master System game over, they modernized it in a way that made it playable, because that original game is pretty tough to go back to, just from some sort of approachability things, but like they added a map for in-game dungeons instead of you having to manually draw it out, things like that. Like, there's a lot of quality of life improvements that were applied that I wanted to see Phantasy Star 2 and 3 get a similar treatment, just because I've never played through all of those fully and wanted to experience them. But either way, I'm excited to see what Sega's next retro-ish project is, and I also want to see what M2 has in store. Hopefully some cool stuff down the line.
Yeah, I never dove into that Sega Asia stuff, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah,
I think they're worth, if one of those games piques your interest, I think the Sega Ages line, the cool thing that M2 did is they added different ways to play it, where it was like, here it is as it was originally, you can play the original version, or here it is with some tweaks. And they did that across the Sonic releases, they did that across different arcade ports they've done a lot of cool things in that way to make those games playable to a modern audience, but also in a Criterion Collection type of way, approachable, or rather, like, retaining the original parts of it that made it so beloved. Matt, last week you helped me find a game, and I spent some time with Alan Wake. I also played a similar Find Me a Game with Sandeep. We've got more on that after one more short break. We'll be right back. Matt, my crippling, I don't know what to call it, but the idea that there's way too many options, way too many things to play, finally weighed down on me last week, and I said, Matt, find me a game to play, and you did. You went to the Game Pass, you said, play Alan Wake, you won't be disappointed, and I wasn't. I don't know if you said I wouldn't be disappointed, but, you made the recommendation and stuck by it, and so did I, so I think later that evening, after you made the recommendation, sat down and I played it for a while. I think I got through the first chapter, first, maybe second in one sitting. And really just wholly liked what I was playing. I really like how the game does its storytelling. You have the kind of setup up front of, okay, we're setting the stage of where Alan Wake is, who he is, him as a writer, him going to this mystery town to kind of take a vacation, and then spooky things start to settle in pretty immediately upon he and his wife's arrival at the town. And then after the big turn at the beginning is that his wife's very afraid of the dark. They have an argument. He walks outside knowing she won't follow him in the dark. Cut to her screaming, help. He runs back in the house. Everything fades to black. He was in a car accident. What happened? What? So there's just this missing time as he tries to find his wife. And as a writer, he's wandering and finding the pages of a manuscript he's never written before, but apparently was written by him. And I love the way that the game is giving you these pieces. You're reading the story, and it's describing an event that's about to take place in your game. Or that it will. And it does. Like one of the early ones was the example of he's reading a thing where he's reacting to seeing himself on a TV display inside of a gas station. And you know that you are trying to get through the woods to the gas station. So you get there, and then as soon as you walk in, the TV's there. The TV comes to life. You see him on the TV losing. It's all of that stuff. And there's this constant just feed of information. But even though they're telling you the story before it happens, there's still so much more mystery involved and packed into every little corner. I really, really love that because you start to believe the world that you're living in. You start to kind of understand what's happening, but all the while you don't trust anything. Even like the people that are closest to Alan Wake, like you can't really trust. Like I don't know if I can trust his wife. I don't know if I can trust his friends. I don't know if I can trust the police. We never trust the police, but I think that, so I played through the first 3 chapters. I'm in the middle of chapter 4 right now. By the halfway point of the story, I'm less and less eager to return to play. And it's really just because the gameplay is kind of dull to a certain extent. You have the flashlight, you shine on the Taken, I think is what they're called. Or is that Destiny? Or is it both?
I don't remember at this point.
You shine the flashlight on these shadow people to kind of remove the shadow from them, and then you shoot them. And it's really rinse and repeat with that. They might come at you in increasing angles, but by the time you get the full variety of weapons, because I've had a shotgun, a hunting rifle, a pistol, a flare gun, flash bombs, like by the time you see all of those things, that's kind of it. There's not much more to it. There's some evasive maneuvers you can do and things like that, but generally it's just shine light, shoot, move on. And I don't know that I need much more, but I think at this point, the story is the more intriguing part and the gameplay is getting in the way of it. I think a lot of the mobility is a lot slower than I'd want to move. Like you're sprinting and then he's out of breath. And it's like, man, I get that. I understand. But also there's one part where you hear his wife screaming around the corner at the top of this mountain. I don't know about you, man, but if that were me, fatigue's not settling in. I'm going to sprint
fight or
until
flight
I'm there.
Kicks in there. Some adrenaline. Yeah.
And I get they programmed the the sprint mechanic and it works a certain way, and then to tweak that just for one scene would probably, I get it. I see through it, but I don't know. I think I might be done with it, but it doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy my time with it. Like, I really liked what it was. I think it could be a thing where on a random Saturday night again, I'm like, yeah, let me play it. But I think sitting down and playing it chunk after chunk, it outstayed its welcome a little bit, and it's really just because of the mechanics. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy it. It's just kind of like, I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't remember what it was, and it might have been called something came out like right as I was getting into it. But like you said, you kind of get away from it, and you know what that game is, and the world building is really cool. But then like the reason to go back to it is kind of like, I don't have to drive to shine light, shoot like you said. I think some of the weapons were cool. I really like the idea of the flare gun. I thought that was a really fun thing once you discover how that works. But like you do it and then. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. And now I'm to the point where, like, inanimate objects, like train cars, are coming to life and hurtling themselves at me.
Yes.
And it takes a little bit longer to counter those, and that's not fun.
Yeah, I got stuck on a couple different parts with that as well. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But I really love the, like, Twin Peaks vibes to it, although, like, I never fully got into Twin Peaks, but, like, I love the influence you can see and feel here. I love just that whole setting of like the Pacific Northwest is really well done, I think. And it's funny because I did not like Control, but this makes me want to go buy the Ultimate Edition of Control and play through the Alan Wake DLC.
Yeah, I think I'm at the point now where I'm just gonna like kind of like do some YouTube videos, do like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 of someone explaining the lore and the story synopsis of Alan Wake. So that way I can just jump into it with a Control, because I'm kind of itching to play that DLC, but I want to make sure I have the context. Yeah, and I don't feel like doing the extra 10 hours I probably need to finish the first Alan Wake.
Yeah, see, that's I don't know how much longer I'd have to put in, but I don't want to do it.
Maybe it's not 10 hours, but it's like I think it was more than 5 if I was pacing myself right with chapters and stuff.
Even an hour at a time, because that's how I've been doing it since. It's been like those hours are slogs a little bit. But I did the same thing I did with you in a conversation with our friend Sandeep regarding some Game Boy Advance RPGs. I had that same too many options, don't know what to do. And he was like, build a spreadsheet, put them all in there, pick one at random. Stick with it for 2 weeks, move on to the next thing after 2 weeks, and don't replay the same thing twice. I was like, all right, let me see. So I did it. I built a formula in a spreadsheet, and boom, Lunar Legend was the answer. So I jumped in. I'm early in this game. I'm about 2 or 3 hours in. You play as a group of young adventurers looking to restore the power of the dragon, obviously. At the very beginning, you work your way through the weird woods, as they're called, to find the giant white dragon. You wake him up. He tells you you've restored his power. He gives you a dragon's diamond, which is really just a piece of poop, and he describes it as such. But says before you can restore the power to the world, you need to seek out the other dragons first. There's a red dragon, a blue dragon, and a black dragon. And that's kind of the setup for the story. Let's go kill the dragons and the crystal. Like it is a JRPG, so it's got all that stuff in it. This one, however, so this is a retelling of the main character Alex's adventures from the PS1 game. There were the Lunar games made by Working Designs. I'm sorry, they weren't made by Working Designs. They were localized by Working Designs. But the team at Working Designs, while doing really, really excellent, what has been praised, I believe, I might be wrong about this, but I believe the fans of these games appreciated the localization, the writing, the humor that were done in the Working Designs localizations of these games. But for some reason, they thought it would be fun if they just made them absurdly difficult for no reason. That wasn't in the original Japanese versions. So there's actually patches that people have done to the PS1 games called Working Designs patch, where they go through, they restore the original Japanese gameplay, but put in the Working Designs dialogue and localization, so that way you get the best of both worlds. This game is a truncated version of that story. It's a 15-hour Game Boy Advance JRPG, so it's totally digestible. It gives you kind of everything you need in a JRPG from what I'm getting so far. I really like the way the writing is. I like the character development that happens. And that's kind of the three things I walked away from this from, or with. You have a really cool battle system. You have deep writing, and you have really good characterization. So the battle system has a couple of different things. Like, you have your traditional JRPG manual selection. Let me choose my character. Let me choose my attack. Let me choose my target. That kind of stuff. But they also have an auto battle where you just hit auto and go. Your characters do their thing. The enemies do their thing. Yada, yada, yada. And then that's the way she goes. What I like is, as you're fighting, each of your characters builds up a meter, almost like a special meter. It is a special meter. And you have these super powerful moves that you can unleash every few battles, or as you get more numbers of enemies in battle. Because now I've gone, like, the early battles, it's like you fight 2 sticks. Now I'm fighting like 6 pirates on a pirate ship, that kind of thing. So as you're fighting more enemies within one battle, you build that meter a lot faster. But it's like, where before, so let's just say standard attack, the main character Alex does a hit for like, I don't know, 22 with his sword. His crazy big power move attacks all enemies for 90. So it's this super power move. But again, it's limited to how quickly or how few you can unleash it. And each character has their own kind of special moves, and I don't know if you learn more as the game goes or not. But I think that's a neat battle mechanic that kind of sets this apart from other traditional JRPGs. The writing, it does have that kind of like simple go on adventure, kill the dragon, come back, save the day kind of thing. But there's a lot more going on. There's a lot of nuance. Like, and I feel like the writing it tells character stories more than it tells story. Because you're talking to NPCs in the towns, and they're giving you little tidbits about characters in your party. Your party often, so far, even in the first 2 hours, has split up a couple of times where, like, characters run off and they go do something. There's an outsider from the town that joins your party early on, and then he says, like, "Okay, thanks guys, I'll see you later. I got what I need. I'm leaving." And you end up running into him and saving his life because he was kidnapped by pirates. But, like, those things, as you talk to people and they tell you, like, "Oh, you mean the smug kid?" Like, so it's like, okay, yeah, he is smug. Like, there's those little pieces like that you get through dialogue with other characters and the NPC and the party characters themselves. They really flesh out what's going on here. And so far, that too, not unlike Alan Wake, like, there are parts of me that are like, yeah, I get it, I'm gonna move on, but I think the battling is fun enough to see what each character does in their little, like, super move way. And I think that there's something satisfying about that. Let me go to the 4 corners of this map and find all of the pieces of the dragon and put them back together and build a Megazord or whatever the heck we're going to do here. And generally, I think both of these games were examples of, I was pushed outside of my own decision making and kind of, not that, like, I have some whole responsibility here, but I felt a duty to at least see Alan Wake through for a little bit. And then also with Lunar Legend, I felt a little bit of a duty in that way to, like, okay, let me see what these are and give them a fair shake. And it was good because I've been so indecisive. So it was nice to be pushed in a direction, have to stick with it. And it's letting me see some games that probably otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, that spreadsheet thing's a good idea. That's not even a bad idea to do Game Pass sometimes when you're indecisive.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, Game Pass has a randomized feature. They have it on the PC thing, but they've now added it to the app. I think there might be a version on Xbox also. But even when I've done that, I usually see it and I'm like, nah. Like, I move on. Like, but, the spreadsheet's it was a cool approach. I'll send you the formula if you want to give it a shot. Let me know.
All right. Fair enough.
So yeah, we'll see what another week brings with those. And in another week, Matt, we're going to get closer and closer to the release of the next generation of ray tracing graphics cards. NVIDIA announced its new cards this week. The RTX 3090, 3080, 3070 all three created under the new Ampere architecture, which is the first big departure for these graphics cards in years. This year is the second generation of these RTX cards that focus on real-time ray tracing with higher performance. For a full breakdown, I mean, there was a live stream. Did you watch any of that this week?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
All I saw was a GIF of a dude pulling the card out of his oven, and he said, "This is a BF GPU." So, yeah. Digital Foundry has a full breakdown of the cards. One of the things they did, talking about it, they said they're seeing cases of 100% increase in performance, which is wild for certain games, like 100%. The three cards are stacked in tiers of power and performance and price, obviously. So the first one to drop is going to be the 3080, which is their mid-tier card, September 17th for $700. A week later, the 3090 drops at $1,500, and this thing is massive. But that one is rated to do 8K, 120 frames a second down the line when things get to that point in 16 years or whatever. And then in October, the 3070, the lower end card drops for $500. But that's still going to be a big leap over even last year's cards, and coming in at such a competitive price point. That leads me, Matt, to the question of the week, I think. If someone's sitting down, they've got their money ready to spend, do you buy a new console or one of these cards?
Well, all right. So the way you load that question, you obviously buy.
There's a lot of caveats to that.
Yeah. You buy the console because if you buy the card, you need at least a few other parts to make that card work. But I'm thinking about it. I thought about it a little bit more this week. About 500. I got 500.
Yeah.
I've thought about it more. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with my 2060 because there's other things. I would have to get a brand new motherboard and processor because I'm currently rocking a server motherboard and processor, and I think that's going to that's going to throttle the performance of anything else at this point. And then at that point, I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I just buy the whole new computer, and I'm talking like a $1,500 perk. Yeah, so that kind of I thought that line out already. But no, if like you have if you have the parts, and depending on how you've been upgrading it, or or if like you're someone in my shoes, I think even like going to like you might get bottlenecked at the 3070 with a machine like I have, some kind of mid-tier build, but like you're going to see a performance increase from like a 970, which is where I was at before I got the 2060 Super. So,
right,
I don't know, and 500 that's pretty affordable, and everyone was saying like how affordable they feel like these cards were relative to their other counterparts. So it's not a bad deal, but like you said, that's a loaded question. It depends what you're coming into the party with. If you're coming in with nothing, I think you're getting a console. But if you have some serious parts, I think you're just doing the PC.
Yeah, and I think like, because if you look at both sides of the table with PS5 and Xbox, like Xbox, you probably don't need a Series X if you buy one of these cards. Probably.
I officially made the decision. I'm not getting the Series X. I used that money to buy new gaming headphones. I've officially shifted the funds.
And then with PS5, like, yes, but do you need one this year if you're getting Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank? If those two games mean nothing to you, then maybe this is a better investment because you can play. I mean, everything that's going to come out on those consoles will be on PC outside of the first-party exclusives
from PlayStation. It's from Sony.
Yeah,
first-party exclusives on Xbox are going to be there.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I think people now have something to really consider. I don't know.
Yeah, like
it made me think for a second, but then I would have to build everything from scratch because I don't have a.
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, like if you're in the right spot, I would say get the card. If I didn't buy that car last year, I will probably be getting a 3070 right now.
Yeah.
So I got the car and I'm doing just fine. I can see the difference between 30 and 60. I can't see the difference between 60 and 120. So sitting at 80 frames or 90 frames in Call of Duty with medium settings and Warzone, that's absolutely fine with me.
Yeah, for me, I thought about, like, what are the games on PC that I would actually... And it was like, well, Flight Sim would run better. And I'm like, well, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to build a PC for Flight Sim. Just not how I'm living my life.
Yeah, I mean, I did it for Doom. I got that game to run at 60, like, on pretty much high ultra off what I wanted. And that game looked great. It did not have ray tracing off the get-go. But, like, Call of Duty ran, I think I got that to run at 60, campaign with ray tracing on, so
yeah. So those will be out in a couple weeks. Again, I would check out Digital Foundry for all of that, for all the nitty gritty stuff, but those are coming soon. And then Matt, we've got a quick rundown. For this week, we'll call it the wrap. A couple headlines here. So Marvel Strike Force is a mobile video game, and players who logged in last Sunday received a little surprise equal to thousands of dollars in Marvel Strike Force. So in the game, to unlock new characters, have to open an orb. In order to open an orb, you need to collect 2,000 orb fragments. The daily login bonus was meant to grant you 3,000 fragments, which by my math would be about 1.5 orbs you're opening. So 1.5 characters you could unlock that day. Instead of being granted 3,000 fragments, characters were given 3,000 orbs, which someone did the hot math on, and that is about $33,000 given to many players. At the original time this story came, obviously it was all over their subreddit, but Vice broke a big story about this, just kind of reporting on it or whatever, which is where I saw it. And at the time of the Vice writing, no action had been taken. No decision was made on whether to remove the funds, what to do about it. But about 2 days ago, the developers put a post out in the subreddit that was like, we obviously can't let people keep this, so we have to take it back. They're figuring out a way to like reward certain players, like people who received it all are going to be compensated with one thing. People who did not get the $33,000 worth of stuff are still being given like a bonus of something like that. I don't remember. It's stuff like this that's so funny. Like there was someone in the thread who was like, this sucks for everybody, because it's like the people who got it obviously didn't ask for it, but got it, and this sucks because they're going to lose out on it. The people that didn't get it, they're going to lose out. I don't know. It's a lose-lose all around. But it's one of those weird ones where, like, man, it just shows how fragile that ecosystem is when a game is so heavily reliant on these microtransactions and things like that.
$33,000 worth of in-game currency. Could you imagine?
And it hit a good number of people too. It was not like, it reminded me of, I don't know if this is related to it at all, but when I delivered pizzas, everybody at work got into this Marvel card game. And I don't remember the name of it at all, but it was an iOS game. I think it might have been iOS and Android. And it was like a collectible card game where you got different tiered rating, Iron Man, whatever. You'd build your little team out, and then you'd battle, and you could build factions, and then your faction would battle other factions, and you'd all be rewarded with whatever, and you'd unlock new card packs, and blah, blah, blah. I remember everyone in the pizza place was playing this game. Every single employee. All into it, all joined a faction. It's pretty cool that we were all like playing this one thing together, but I just did it, had fun collecting the cards, and I would get random little cards and build my little team that I liked and whatever. There were dudes who were spending like $100 a day.
Why?
Day.
God.
Because they needed 5-star Iron Man. And if you log in this weekend, you get 5-star War Machine with bonus turrets. Like, it was insane. They were just spending so much money on this stuff. And then here's the fun part. Obviously, that stuff's all fleeting because people lose interest. But even if you don't, that game shut down. Because I remember a couple years ago, I was like, whatever happened to that? And I went to go re-download it, just see the status of it. Couldn't find it in the App Store. Couldn't find it in my download history. Totally removed entirely. And then I found the blog post that was like, we're out. It's like, dang. Like, I knew people who spent thousands of dollars on... Gone. People, go buy a graphics card. Don't buy... Whatever. Spend your money.
For real.
But, I mean, man. Go play Avengers. That seems like a more fitting use of your time. Matt, you know about Vlambeer, the video game development studio?
I didn't. I knew who Rami Ismail is because I follow him on Twitter for some news, but I didn't realize he was part of Vlambeer. And then I read Vlambeer. I was like, ooh, what did they do? And then I read what they did. I'm like, oh, I do know who they are.
Yeah, Vlambeer started in 2010. Rami Ismail and Jan Willem Nijman, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, started working together after they dropped out of their game dev classes in college, releasing their first game, Super Crate Box, in 2010. Since then, released Ridiculous Fishing, Nuclear Throne, Luftrausers. But in all that time, in the last 10 years, they've both they've worked together, but also apart, and they've kind of worked on different projects. You saw Rami Ismail get really involved in like indie dev stuff. There's a whole like distribute platform to like grant access to developers' games through like press kit stuff, all happening. He was really integral in making that and really advocating for developer rights and diversity and development, that kind of stuff across the industry. Nijman he worked on games like Minute, he co-created. So they've both been doing things while working with one another. And the one thing they emphasized during an interview with Polygon that I thought was funny, that they work well together, but they're not friends. They respect each other, but they're not going to go to each other's birthday parties, like not in that way. And they never meant for their game studio to get to where it is now anyway. So after 10 years, they are closing it down and releasing the final game, Ultra Bugs, this year. They'll keep doing what they've been doing, just there is no more Vlambeer, and they won't be working directly together the same way. And it's not a matter of like bad blood or anything like that. It's just they're officially shutting it down, and that's kind of it. But I've liked the stuff that the two of them have made together. Everything I've played all of these games, at least the ones we named. They're always fun. Like there's a good like arcade feel to them. Like there's something classic and new about everything they've done. Like they take simple ideas and expand on them to make them a little bit more long. I don't know how to
I played a little bit of Luftrausers. I don't think I played.
I loved that game.
I don't think there's a little bit. Or I think I don't think I played anything else. I know what Ridiculous Fishing is. I just never played it. Yeah,
that I remember playing Super Crate Box on Vita. Nuclear Throne. They've done a lot of cool projects. So I mean, either way, both of them, I'm excited to see what they go on to.
Also, how often can we get to say that a studio shut down because they wanted to? So that's something to celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of wanted to, earlier this year, it seemed like Warner Brothers wanted to get rid of WB Games, but Bloomberg is now reporting that the company has decided to remove the... I'm sorry. What? The company determined that it was too valuable, realized the business's growth potential, and according to Bloomberg, the decision to abandon the sale has been made, and is maybe still subject to change, but this is after the inauguration of John Stankey as AT&T CEO. Basically, maybe they're not going to sell that division, but maybe they will, but maybe they won't. But right now, the talks of Microsoft, Take-Two, EA jumping in and buying WB Games is off the table.
Well, they have to... Look, they're CEOs, so they deal with money and stocks and shareholders and things like that. They had to have seen the growth from last quarter across the entire industry, and I'm sure they saw that and they started seeing what their bids were from Microsoft, from EA, Activision. Who was all part? I can't even remember.
EA, Activision, Take-Two, and Microsoft.
Take-Two was So like, the big ones I'm sure they started talking money. They probably saw the money they could get. Then they saw the last quarter results, and they're like, we can do that.
It's probably the same thing a few years back. I don't know if you remember the story that Microsoft was to buy EA.
Yeah.
And like, how many of those things are stories that pop up because someone had that conversation just to give themselves an actual value? You know what I mean? To go back to shareholders and say, look, they're going to buy us for this. So stop yelling at us because look how much we're worth.
Yeah, who's to say like they were meeting about something totally different, had a few drinks, and you're like, what have you bought us? And then someone like from across the fucking table or, across the room heard them like, oh shit, that's the EA and Microsoft guy. And then, it spins.
Right.
Who knows?
Speaking of buying people, Vince McMahon wants to maintain his ownership of WWE characters, we'll say. So a call earlier in the week stressed that the WWE owns not only character names, but real life names. So wrestlers, this kind of mandate was talked about on Thursday, saying that wrestlers must promote and protect the brand in every conceivable way and they have 30 days right now to stop engaging with third parties. The quote here from Vince McMahon: "Some of you are engaged with outside third parties using your name and likeness in ways that are detrimental to our company. It is imperative that these activities be terminated within the next 30 days by Friday, October 2nd. Continued violations will result in fines, suspension, or termination at WWE's discretion." Which I'm of two minds on this. One, this is absurd and insane, and what? The other mind, I look at a company like Kinda Funny. I look at a company like MinMax, both video game, Patreon supported talent, on camera talent that rose because of their relationship with fans. If you recall, Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty were very, very much on camera talent face for IGN. Built up a whole following from that and then said, "Thank you, IGN. We love you. We're going to go do our own thing now." How much of that audience left IGN to follow them? How much of that maintained? How big of a hit did IGN take with that? I don't know the answer to these questions. It's all hypothetical. But if you do have people like, I think Xavier Woods is a big example of this, among others. I'm sure you know way more than I do about this stuff. But how many of these folks are potentially, right, building this brand recognition within their own selves and then planning to leave the company, or maybe not even plan, but just by happenstance would leave the company to go do something else, AEW, and would take the audience. So from a brand protection standpoint, I see where this is all coming from, but also it's insane. Like the stuff that like Dwayne Johnson had to have Dwayne The Rock Johnson as part of his bill when doing movies because of the contracts he had with the stuff is just nuts, man.
Yeah, and like
they're people.
Remember, these are all independent contracts. They're not actually working for WWE, and that's the absurd part of this. If this was WWE contract, that I can kind of understand, but like these are independent contracts, and I know you were saying that, but like thinking about Kinda Funny and thinking about all the other stuff, but like there were some things that in the wrestling world that one I kind of noticed, but then two, news was kind of coming off it. Like AJ Styles, he and someone else, like two of his friends that he came from New Japan with, were fired a few weeks back, or a few months back at this point, during the initial layoffs when COVID happened, and he was pissed because someone in the locker room lied to him that's upper up in management. Well, now that guy, he left Raw to go to SmackDown because of that. Well, now that guy is back at SmackDown as an on-character personality again. So he was asked about working with him. It wasn't anything bad that he said, but it made news and made light of that situation again after a couple months. Also, like, the only character person, Adam Cole, I forget his real name. It might actually be Adam Cole. He famously has a girlfriend, and they might even be engaged or married to Britt Baker, who is probably the face of AEW's women's division right now. And they were both promoting their Twitch streams together, and I'm sure Vince McMahon was not happy about that, because Adam Cole is probably the star of NXT, or definitely one of the top 5, I would say. So I'm sure that has, that exposure has not made Vince McMahon angry at all. I still think Vince is out of touch, so I don't even think he's aware of Kind of Funny and what that could look like. I just think he's concerned. I think he keeps seeing news pop out of these streams from cameos, because this is including everything. We're talking about Twitch, and specifically like the fate of Up Up Down Down is very much in trouble. That's the one that's led by Xavier Woods.
That's a podcast? Is that what that is? Or
that's kind of he's kind of built that into a brand. But yeah, they do it's his own YouTube channel for gaming.
Okay.
But he has wrestlers, and they do these tournaments. He even made a whole belt that's like the Up Up Down Down champion. They do a whole thing with that, but that's in trouble because Xavier Woods purposely used his regular name as Austin Creed, or I forget his real name, but he uses his real name for that. But because WWE is claiming they own the real name, he might not even be able to do that anymore. So that's such a huge thing, and when you think about it, these wrestlers have popped up in our events that we watch from time to time. I'm pretty sure the New Day, which includes Xavier Woods, was at the Mortal Kombat reveal for 11, right? A couple years ago. Yeah. They were the ones underground. It was Xavier Woods, AJ Styles, and someone else, I think, underground, or maybe not AJ Styles, but there was 3 wrestlers promoting that new mode in Gears 5 at E3. That was its own stream. They kind of become part of his culture a little bit, and now it's going to be taken away from them unless they leave the company.
Seems very weird, but the WWE has seemed very weird for a long time.
Yeah, one of the wrestlers, so they changed, kind of unrelated, but speaking about how AEW, I don't think really cares, they changed the venue. They bought out they rented out one of those arenas that they know no one's going to be able to use, and he put a bunch of TV screens that way you can kind of live stream yourself watching. Well, Kenny Omega from AEW live streamed, and there's shots of him being one of the fans on their TV that you can see in the background, and AEW did nothing to come out and punish it, and he was just I was just tuning in to watch wrestling. I don't know what you want me to do about it. I thought it'd be fun.
He was in the background of WWE?
Yeah, their broadcast, because they're trying to do a fan experience thing where they're doing these TVs to pipe in crowd noise and people watching and stuff that. And he was in one of those TVs, and someone definitely clipped him out, and when asked about it, he was I was trying to watch wrestling and have a good time.
That's pretty good. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I don't know, man.
That's so weird though. The whole independent contract is the thing that makes that very gross.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's change the terms of that, and that sucks. I think a nice story to go out on that I thought was kind of heartwarming is that Game Informer revealed its cover, its next cover coming up, and the cover story is Kena Bridge of Spirits, the game we saw at the PS5 reveal event earlier this summer. The question asked here, or the questions asked pitching this is, how did a studio with roots in commercial animation move over to the world of video games? How did the team land on the idea of a young adventurer on a mission of healing and reconciliation? What the heck are the it's their little in-game enemies? And how did an up-and-coming studio not only get their hands on PS5 development tools, but also land a highly coveted slot in the console's first major announcement event? They'll answer all that in a 14-page cover story due out this month. I just thought it was neat because, this studio, this is their first game, and prior to this, really, it was just commercial animation. They did do a Majora's Mask movie, which if you haven't seen, go look it up. I think it's on their YouTube channel. It's short. It's a short little story, but it did a really cool, dark, weird turn on the Skull Kid and interpretation of that story. And I thought that game was neat looking. Generally speaking, I thought it had a really good look to it visually, and again, all those questions that they're kind of posing here, I am curious to read about when the story drops. So time will tell.
That's pretty cool.
And Matt, we've got one more segment to close us out, which is, of course, the next installment of our weekly game, Who Would Win in a Fight? We are down to 3 more choices. Matt, I'm going to let you pick 1, 2, or 3.
Let's do 1.
Who would win in a fight, Matt, between GLaDOS from the Portal series and the New York Yankees? Now, I believe you elected New York Yankees as one of video games' greatest villains.
Yes. Whenever you take the reins as the Baltimore Orioles franchise, you are always constantly looking up at the New York Yankees, usually in the standings, and it just becomes a pain in the ass. And yeah, beating them feels nice. It feels like you beat the game almost. So,
do you feel like the New York Yankees have a good shot against GLaDOS?
So this is the thing, right? You could take the current roster, the current 26 with COVID rules. I think it's 27 right now, man roster. Or you can look at the whole legacy. You can bring in the Steinbrenner money. You can you can go above and beyond. You can bring in spirits. All the dead Yankees. Like, think about it, man. There's a lot going on here.
Dead Yankees.
Dead Yankees, yeah. But GLaDOS. But you see, one person navigated with a portal gun. They were pretty much human.
Do the Yankees have a portal gun?
Huh?
Do the Yankees have a portal gun?
No, they got bats. They got many bats. A lot of bats. And the Steinbrenners have enough money to maybe make a portal gun.
Okay. All right. Look, man, this is your logic, so I'm following it with you. You lay it out.
I'm saying one person that was very human. Remember, it's very easy to die in Portal. It was like one laser, a couple, the poison pond or something like that. You were dead.
That's also true.
Very easy to get killed. And one shell, right?
Shell, yeah. As far as we know, all but Derek Jeter are human on the New York Yankees historically, so they're just as fallible as Shell was.
I don't know, but all it takes is one slip in the room of poison gas to kill, because I remember that boss fight. It died there a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
This is outside the warehouse, too. I've been playing Coliseum rules, right? So GLaDOS doesn't have the power of the warehouse. I actually might give it to the New York Yankees.
Interesting. You don't think she would have manipulated... If she's rooted in the ground in the Coliseum, you don't think she would have been able to splinter out into the rest of the... Look, man, she came to life through a potato. You think she couldn't come to life through the grounds of a Coliseum?
I mean, she could. It's just how much prep time you got, you know? I mean, the potato thing, very iconic moment, by the way. It needed to happen immediately, and it was almost Cortana moving around on a disc like. I'm saying, there's a lot of time to set up. GLaDOS could probably win, but I'm just assuming, all right, gate 1 open, gate 2 open, clash.
All right.
I want to give it to 26 versus one machine that doesn't have all her tricks up her sleeve.
I will. It has been decided.
Remember, you got people throwing 100-mile-per-hour baseballs too.
Fair.
You can throw other objects.
Destroy some machinery.
So it's like a mini army with the New York Yankees. You got the close range frontline battalion with bats, and then you got the long range archers throwing baseballs and other objects.
I can dig it. Matt, this is exciting. We've got 2 more rounds before we're getting there, man. We are moving along.
There's a lot of potential for the New York Yankees. The more I think about this, that was a good matchup for them. But I have a feeling, knowing some of the other villains at this point,
I can see who they're up against.
Oh shit!
In their next round. So I don't know about that, but time will tell. Stay tuned, listeners, for the coming weeks to find out our continuing bracket elimination of who would win in a fight. Of course, stay tuned to the Free Cheese Podcast every week as we recap the video games we've played in the last week and look at what news has happened. Any big plans for the week in the world of video games and Matt Sellner?
No, I'm very excited. I mentioned earlier I used Xbox money to get new headphones. Got some A50s Astros, so I can't wait to use them. See what's good, dude. I've been constantly playing, and like the people I play with, Modern Warfare, like call out people that I can't hear to my left. So I'm very
wow.
excited to see how much they help and what the sound experience is like with some high definition sound. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I feel like these headphones are good, but really, these are PS3 era headphones.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I can use the upgrade there. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how.
Let me know how it is. My brother got me an Astro set for my birthday that I've been digging.
Oh, cool. All right.
I don't remember what series it is, but yeah.
And they're wireless too. I'm finally wire free on the headphones now.
Nice. And then for me, it's going to be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Even like I'm pretty sure today, after I get back from skating, I'm gonna play that game until I'm not awake anymore. So I will get all the goals done, all the stat points, all that done easily. But even past that, I don't see an end in sight for that game and me.
Is anything coming out this week? I don't even know.
I don't know. The big stuff was this last week, and then obviously we've got the Mario stuff upcoming down the line. But I don't know if there's a ton. I'll take a look at the new release calendar.
Re-Reckoning comes out.
Right.
I'm not gonna get that.
No, that got delayed. Yeah, we've got 13 Sentinels in a couple weeks here. That's the new game from Vanillaware. That I'm really looking forward to, but that's a couple weeks out still.
Yeah, I think the next big one for me, besides 3D All-Stars, is Mafia. So that's the 25th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm going to be cruise along and play a little bit more of that franchise mode, report back to how the handoff and how that goes, and see if it gets any better. I'm going to keep playing through Captain Tsubasa, get through the story mode, see if I can finally find a match online. Play some Mario Tennis, see if I throw my Switch out the window.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Modern Warfare. And then that multiplayer reveal is this week, so I'm hyped for that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that all turns out. I did play I started the Crystal Chronicles demo. That has a huge, crazy, intricate character creation thing to it that I was like not mentally prepared to dive into, and then realized, don't splinter your attention, focus on Lunar Legend, stop doing this. But that, holy heck, I was already intrigued by that game, and then doubled down the recommendation from the Meat Man during our weekly video game D&D conversations that we have. Here's a fun story for you and for listeners who made it this far. I'm at the meat counter talking to the boy about meat. Not really about meat. I'm ordering him a meat. And he's telling me, he gives me updates on his D&D campaign that he's DMing every week. So I asked him how it went, and he's just, the context is key here, right? I'm standing at a meat counter. There's a woman waiting to be waited on a couple feet down from me, and then he's there. She walks up. There's no real context. I just said, how's it going? And we already know that means, how's D&D going? It's kind of where we're at this point in our relationship as meat purchaser and meat maker. He broadcasts. He goes, it's pretty good. I haven't killed anybody yet, but I'm thinking this week, poison. Again, a man wrapping meat for the people is talking about poisoning people to kill them. And then he's like, what did he say? I can't remember all the content, but just, it was a lot of stuff like that where it was very much like he's saying things without any real specific context, probably knowingly what he's doing, but just people around us. Like, there was one guy that walked by and like did a double take at him when he said so. It's pretty good. With that, you can follow the Free Cheese on Twitter at SomeFreeCheese. Matt is at MattyIce131. Go follow Tony Hawk or something too, man. Be nice to somebody. I don't know. TheFreeCheese.com is a website that has a lot of content throughout the 7 years of this website, 8 years of this podcast. That's all I got. Go enjoy video games. Come back next week. Tell a friend to listen. The show's back and better than ever. We never left, but better than ever. That's it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.